Welcome back into another episode of George in the Jungle, presented as always by Remington Tavern. Remington Tavern can be found at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have their daily happy hour from 3 to 7 p.m., $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanza Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. You can find them on Instagram at RemyTav Cincy. That's REMITAV Cincy with a Y, or follow them on Facebook. And with that, George, it is another Tuesday evening where we discuss all things Cincinnati sports. And right now, there's not a whole lot to celebrate.
No, there's not. Although we can celebrate, you are feeling better. You just don't sound better.
I am feeling
But
better.
You are feeling better.
I am feeling better. So there's definitely that.
Yeah, I mean, there is not a heck of a lot to celebrate. I will tell you that I'm glad you're feeling better.
Appreciate that.
I feel like I'm ruining my reputation because I went on a golf trip the past couple of days and I didn't really get drunk or do anything stupid the entire time. And it's just me and like 36 other guys or 35 other guys, 36 total, secluded on some golf ranch down in Kentucky, central Kentucky, and got up this morning and played an 18-hole scramble, then came back here, played in a golf late this evening. So pretty much since the end of the Bengals game on Sunday, I've just been looking for golf balls, and that's about it. Looking for golf balls and trying not to get drunk because I knew I had a lot on my plate, and I didn't want to have to play golf with a hangover because I'm bad enough as it is, and it's a lot worse when I have a hangover. So I'm proud of myself that I didn't go down there and get annihilated. But I think my reputation on these trips took a hit because I didn't do that. What do you think? Like a guy my age shouldn't even be thinking about that stuff. So
I always find myself amazed at the situations that you find yourself in. So for you to have
a time saying no,
that's the least surprising thing that you've ever said to me.
Right. I have a hard time saying no. And so that's got me, to where I'm in these situations. But we had a good time. We had kids from age, what's the legal age? 21?
Yes.
I think somebody's son was there, though, that was 19. So we had people from 19 to age 19 to probably, I don't know, 73, somewhere in there. It was a fun time. I think everybody had a ball, but nobody wants to hear about that. But do they want to hear about these local teams?
Well, I guess.
I mean, it's just, well, where do you want to start?
Let's start in chronological order. We'll start at historic Nippert Stadium, where your Cincinnati Bearcats had a 27-6 lead in the third quarter, and for reasons that I'm still struggling to actually comprehend, shit it away.
Yeah, 100%. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And obviously, little things matter. Football comes down to 10, 12 plays in a game or whatever that you can point to. But this one just felt like there were a heck of a lot more than those. And I understand people who are frustrated and very there's people who want Satterfield fired right now.
Oh, there's plenty of people that want that. Yeah.
Right. And I get it. But contracts today are not what they were back in the 80s or the 70s, even the 90s. It's not like you can hire a guy and get rid of him a year and a half later and not set yourself back financially. And look, if you think it's a right move and you got to bite the bullet financially, then you do it. But I don't think we're there yet, but I understand people thinking we're there because that was a disaster. That was a disaster to be up 27-6 with 5 minutes to go in the third quarter, and you're on your home field and you lose the game. You kind of got to find ways to blow it. And they found ways to blow it before it was 27-6. And
Sure.
that sequence at the end of the first half was just when it was, I don't know what it was. It was 2nd and 6, maybe down by the 10 or whatever. I don't know. Somewhere in there. I'm and you may have it pulled up there. Help me here. But you know where the clock is. And yes, you want to score a touchdown. Yes, you've had these red zone problems. But you also kind of want to make sure you're the last person with the ball that half to kick a field goal if it comes down to that. I don't know. I would have run the ball on 2nd or 3rd down, but I that just seemed like that started the vicious downward spiral for this team when you go out there and then your guy comes out and I don't know if it was a bad snap, bad hold, just bad kick, but it's an extra point and you can't make it. You can't make it. And then you give Pitt the ball back with time to go down the field and get a 50 whatever yard field goal out of their kicker. And so that's a 6-point swing basically. And okay, yeah, you're up and you're fine. But it just seemed like that started the downward spiral. Then you come out in the second half and offensively, you don't really look like anything like you did early in the game. And so you sit there and go, oh my God, Pitt's made some adjustments to what UC was doing. And
Felt very
UC
similar to last year's. Felt very similar to last year's Pitt game.
Exactly. And I'm sitting there going, this can't be happening again. I'm like, I'm thinking the same thing everybody else is. And I'm like, there's no way. This can't happen again. And really, it could have happened last year. They could have lost that game at Pitt last year in the second half, the way things were going. They escaped with their skins. They didn't this time. It kind of caught up to them, but of course, last year it caught up to them for the rest of the year. But it's beyond frustrating. Something's not right when you blow a 27-6 lead at home. If I'm the AD, do I bite the bullet and pay that big payout and move on to what? And Lord knows I haven't even begun to think about who would be next or all that. But if you're an AD, you kind of should be thinking about that. Just because you never know what's going to happen. And so you always want to have an emergency plan in place. Yeah. And so I'm not there yet, but I understand what the sentiment is. I understand why people are mad, and that should not happen. That should not happen. You can't have that happen on your home field. And then you start looking at, who they have beaten at home the last couple of years and who they haven't. And you really, really start to have questions. And I get it. It's not going to happen this year. It's still too early to completely go into throw a person overboard mode and wreck the whole thing and start all over again. But these questions need to be asked, and we'll see what the answers are come Saturday in Oxford, because if things don't go well up there, and they may not. I mean, as I sit here today, I'm no more confident than a coin flip that UC gets on that bus and comes home with the bell.
There's really no reason for you to be more confident than that. You've been given no reason at this point to have any more confidence in this team than that. Second was second and 1 in the fourth quarter. Corey Kiner has 150 yards at this point in time, and he doesn't see the ball again the rest of the game.
Right.
I think that's probably still where I'm just completely mind wrecked.
It's unbelievable. And he was grinding out some yards. And, I know when you look at yards per carry, and he had a pretty good run, I want to say, in the first half that probably inflated. But then he had a pretty good run in the second half. And he's one of those guys, you feed him the ball enough, and he's going to rip off a 20 or 25 yarder. And so, okay. So he, only gets a yard or two on this carry, a yard or two, and then you pull out a trick play when, flat out running the ball was working. Let's put it this way. I was doing my best to defend some of those decisions up until halftime. And then it got to a point where everyone around me is like, this guy's got to go. And it's like, yeah, that was stupid. I don't know what the heck was going on there and why. Because it felt like they were just keeping Pitt in the game or getting them back into the game. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, it was that was a bad loss. Miami last year was a bad loss, but UC wasn't up 27-6 in the third quarter on Miami last year.
I guess the thing that I just really don't understand is it's a run heavy offense. It's not on Saturday. It wasn't. We just decided to be a pass heavy offense out of nowhere. And coach today in his Tuesday presser said that the reason that Corey probably should have gotten more touches but didn't was because in the second half we had to punt more. And I don't understand that answer at all.
No, I don't either.
You had to punt more because you didn't give the ball to Corey Kiner enough.
Thank you.
I
don't.
Okay.
And then you want to flip to the other side of the ball?
Let's.
I don't.
Because on the other side of the ball there's a lot of guys that aren't starters playing a lot of meaningful snaps in that second half. And I understand that you want to rotate guys in so that they get the experience and you're up several scores. I understand that you want to get them that time on the field, but at some point you've got to pull back on the leash.
Yeah, you got to stand on the throat when you got them down like that.
Yeah.
Put the best out there and
put
it to rest. And then you can play those guys.
Felt like Luke Fickleball a little bit in that you get up a couple scores late in the game and you just you feel like you don't need to put anybody away. You just need to play to win at that point. Like you're not putting anybody out the pasture.
You play not to lose is what
Yeah.
And I felt like for a while the defense, obviously was playing very well. And then it just felt like it got kind of pulled back a little bit and it was playing. And there was one drive in particular, and the game was still very much in UC's favor, but you could just kind of feel some air sucked out of the defense because they were laying back a little more. It was almost like a prevent style, and I don't think that's what it was, but it certainly felt like it. And Pitt just goes right down the field. And then how in the hell do you have a running back doing what the kid for Pitt was doing, right? And then you've got a linebacker supposed to cover him out of the backfield one-on-one. That's the one guy you got to stop. There's one guy. One guy. And that's the guy that gets single coverage with a linebacker and then houses it. Give me a break. And
make the
maybe
argument
there was something blown on that. Maybe that's not a coaching mistake, but it sure as hell looked like it.
I'd make the argument there were two guys you needed to watch. You needed to watch Reed, the running back that you're talking about. You also needed to watch Mumpfield because Mumpfield went off as well. That one
Yeah.
receiver, he went off for 5 catches, 123 yards, 2 scores on his 8 targets. But
that
yeah.
Reed kid got rolling in the second half.
He sure
He
shit
got
did.
rolling.
Yeah.
And you've got to put an end to that. One way or the other. You got to put an end to it. And instead, you got a linebacker chasing this guy who's quick as a cat.
Yeah, you put poor Jack Dingle in a real bad spot.
Yeah, it's not his fault. I mean,
he's not built for that.
Gardner on that guy.
Yeah,
That's how quick and fast this guy is.
Jack Dingle is not built for covering a kid of that.
What linebacker is
skill set? Yeah. So it was almost a comedy of errors the way the second half went. You give up, I think, 150 yards in the first half, and you give up 330 yards in the second half. Obviously, very different halves there.
And I felt like there was still a problem with pass rush, and
sure.
I felt like there were still a lot of it, and some of it changed up throughout the games. But I gotta, and I used to get those stats on how many they rushed and when and all that. I'm gonna have to go back and get that stuff because it's driving me freaking nuts. Because I felt like too many times there's 3 guys rushing. And then these poor guys are trying to get to the quarterback, and then, they're going to get out of their lane, and there were some stunts and stuff going on. It's fine, but you get out of the lane, and then this guy can take off and run if he needs to and get yardage that way. And it was very, very frustrating to watch that second half. One of the most frustrating second halves, and there's been a few here in the past couple of years. Actually, I can go back 3 years. I mean, I think of that, the end of the Luke Fickell era in that Tulane game. But there's been some really frustrating second halves, and this one's right up there, if not top of the list. So now what happens? Now what do you do when you go up to Miami? You better look pretty darn good. Right.
Yeah, you cannot lose, and you need to win. Honestly, you probably need to win pretty handily if you want to buy back any good grace with your fan base.
Right, because the natives are restless. They're restless, and
for good reason.
And fans, but in this case, and last year was last year. That was a bad situation all the way around. So I gave this coaching staff a bit of a pass on that. It was a tough spot to be in. Sure. And when they come in and in the portal and the recruiting and all, I get it. But they had a year to prepare for this, and they had a team down 27-6, and they coughed it up. And I'm sorry, that's on the coaching staff. As far as I'm concerned, 100%. And they need to answer for it, and they need to respond for it. And they better go up to Miami and get the job done. And that's not a bad team up there. And that's not an easy place to play because it's a little different now, but it used to be, I don't want to say a high school stadium. It was like a glorified high school stadium. It's just a different environment. And, boy, I'll tell you what, it's, like I said, coin flip at best. They get out of there with a win.
If you lose to Miami, even if you sneak one out against Miami, you're honestly going to be struggling to sell tickets the rest of the season, and probably next season.
Right, your ticket base is going to deteriorate,
regardless of what happens the rest of the year.
Right. Yes, that's a big game. It is a, I remember Fickell was up there and shouldn't have won a game and had no business. Well, Miami had no business winning last year, but they did. Now, they turned out to be a good team, but the way that game was going, UC should have won that game. So to lose again, people are going to be PO'd.
and it's going to be gross. That tropical depression is going to sit right here Saturday.
Oh, it's going to make it all the way?
Yeah. They're saying Friday night through Saturday, it is going to pour.
Because Chad, I've been watching
Give Corey the ball.
Yes, give Kiner the ball. But we could have said that last Saturday, and there was no tropical depression.
I did. I did too. I don't know. I thought this was supposed to be kind of a, run first deal anyway, Right.
And you've got this offensive line that can do that.
I've said it 10 times, and I'm going to say it again because this is what really pisses me off about it, George. They rested him all spring.
Yeah.
They rested him all camp.
Yes.
They put no mileage on him so that he would be fresh when the season arrived. And then they gave him 20 carries at 7.5 yards a carry. He got 3 carries for 43 yards in the fourth quarter, and that was it. And you want to know why you had to punt the ball? It's because you didn't give the ball to Corey fucking Kiner.
Right. And when it's working, you stay with it. Look,
right.
I'm not saying do what Michigan State did to the Walker kid up there that one year.
Right.
And have him carry 40 times every freaking game. But there are some games he should see the ball 40 times.
You're winning. You're clinging to a diminishing lead. Hand off, turn, give it to 21.
Yep.
He gets tackled. You get back in the huddle. You take the snap. You turn. You hand it to 21.
Clock keeps running.
I agree. No, I'm watching this, and I don't know why. I don't know. And people are asking me, and I'm like, I don't know. And I will give Pitt credit in that second half and whatever adjustments they made. And every coach will tell you there are, that halftime adjustment thing's overrated. I'm not sure it is. It certainly wasn't in this game because the heat they were able to bring on Sorsby and kind of confuse him in the passing game a little bit. I don't even know if confusion's the right word. It was almost desperation several times where he gets the ball and then here they come. They did a good job. And Narduzzi's good at that. That's what he's built his reputation on. And that's why I think people who pay attention are so upset is you see this coaching staff did this and got it done. This coaching staff didn't seem to know what the hell to do.
They didn't know
and it was obvious what to do.
Didn't know how to win a game. They didn't know how to close out.
Am I oversimplifying this?
No, they Chad said it a couple times that sometimes you're not playing chess, you're just playing checkers.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just playing checkers.
Yeah.
You know what Mike Warren did at UCLA in 2018?
Yes.
He carried the ball 42 times.
Right. And that's what you do to win the game. And again,
here's the reality.
You're a guy down over the course of the season, but damn it, these guys are 20 years old. Do you remember how you could get out of bed when you were 20? Well, wait a minute. Never mind, Chip.
I've killed a lot of brain cells since then.
Wait, you were a finely tuned athlete at one time.
At one time. I don't think I think I had ruined that by the time I got to 20. But here's the thing.
I think I did too.
If they gave the ball to Mike Warren 41 times, they probably get beat by UCLA.
Yeah.
They needed every single carry from Mike Warren to get the job done. Feed the beast.
UC could have probably gotten away by feeding it to him 30 times in this game.
Yeah.
And won.
25.
Right.
I said the same thing.
I mean, that's what it just is maddening to me. And I have been, we haven't gotten that out of our football team yet, and we'll get to that. I wasn't even recovered from Saturday, and I'm still not. And that happened, and you're just I've been I don't know. I don't know. It shouldn't be this hard. Um, it's fun to watch, but it wasn't fun when it went the other way Saturday, and it wasn't fun Sunday.
So your Bearcats drop to Pitt in the rematch, 28-27 this round.
And I got this to ask too. How the hell is UC favored by 3.5 at Miami on the road? Seriously. Are you going to bet them?
I'm not touching Cincinnati.
No, I can't trust it.
Not currently. I'm not touching Cincinnati. Not until basketball season starts.
Yeah.
But so Saturday went really, really poorly. Sunday said, "Hold my beer."
Yeah. Good point.
And the Cincinnati Bengals lose to the Patriots in their home opener, 16-10. And I still have no idea what I watched. I saw a touchdown by Mike Gesicki that was overturned by the slightest of bobbles, and ended up a fumble right at the red zone. I saw plenty of Joe Burrow wrist flexing and rotating. I don't know what to make of any of that. I saw Jamar Chase only catch 4 passes. I saw Joe Burrow not really pass more than 7 yards. On I don't know, did he pass more than 7 yards at all in the game? He did not air the ball out. It was a very strange game. They never got the run going. I know Danovsky went on record saying that both offense and defense felt like finesse. There's no physicality, and I don't think anyone currently can argue that. Right now, Joe Burrow in his first 2 games of the season for his entire career stands at 1-8. That's not good. I don't understand why the Bengals aren't able to put a game together for the first several games of a season. I feel like I understand that you're trying to preserve your players by not playing them in the preseason, but at some point something's got to give, because this is not a good product that you're putting out there to open up your season. And we found out you can't give away games at the beginning of the season because they catch up with you.
Yeah, they do. And it's burned them these past few years. Zach Taylor is now 1-10 in the first 2 weeks of seasons that he's been a head coach. And Zach Taylor said last year, after the slow start, that they would look into what they do at training camp, and they'll turn over every stone to see what they can do to be more ready. And he did have 2 joint practices this year as opposed to 1. But in the preseason games, everyone was in bubble wrap that's a starter pretty much, especially on the offensive side of the ball, and didn't see a lot of them and didn't get them out there and get them in what people call football shape, getting their sea legs, whatever. And Joe Burrow's never had a full camp. This time he did, and everyone thought, okay, he'll have a full camp. But if you're not out there in game situations, even if it's a preseason game, but you're out there with the whole operation going on, I think there's some merit in getting that stuff out of the way. I'm telling you. Now I'm going off on a tangent. But as a dumbass who golfs, when you go out to the first tee and you tee it up, and let's say you haven't been to the range or whatever. Maybe you have, whatever. You tee it up on hole 1. There's just there's still an anticipation, an anxiety, a nervousness. I don't know what it is. but you're
Fog,
teeing
yeah.
it up for the first time, and there's still a little thing going on, and it takes a couple of holes before you tee it up, and you don't, then you're ready. You're like, throw it in the ground. I've done this before. Boom. But on the first tee, and the Bengals play the beginning of the season like it's the first tee, and there's just something that isn't quite ready to go or loose. And that's what it looked like. And they got the crap beat out of them in the trenches, especially in that first half. And then we haven't gotten to the turnovers yet. I mean, they could have survived a very bad outing if they don't turn the ball over. They could have survived this because the Patriots are kind of that bad, but I will give the Patriots credit for this. And I should have seen this coming because the Patriots have like 9 defensive starters back, and their defense was really, really good against the run last year, like historically good. Then you've got, they had the coaching change and all that, but they got a hard-nosed defensive guy coaching that football team, and they were ready to go. They were ready to get in the trenches and beat somebody and punch them in the mouth. And that's why.
You say that, and yet Joe Burrow, this was I believe the third least amount of pressure he's ever had in a game.
Yes,
ever.
It was. You're right.
Ever. So
you know why? Probably
because
what they were doing was working. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, why would you continue? Why would you start sending guys when what you're doing is working? And it kept working. And the Bengals did completely. It's not so much. I mean, the Patriots won it by staying with what they do. And we talked about feeding the ball to the running back in the UC game. Look what the Patriots did.
Yeah, Ramondre Stevenson looked like AP.
Well, he's a good running back, and he gets going, but they kept
not Hall of Fame.
No, he's not. But he's a good running back. But they kept feeding the beast. He was having a good day. So guess what? Keep giving him the ball. Other people on your defense are having good days. Let them do what they do. But the Bengals got their ass kicked in the trenches the first half. Early in the game, it was like they got punched. They couldn't counter punch. And then it looks like they're going to. And then the ball's fumbled at the goal line for some unknown. I have no idea. That was huge. And then your favorite player fumbled on a punt return.
Oh yeah, old Charlie Jones.
I try to defend. I'm not going to defend this week. No, I'm not jumping off his ship completely. But I know a lot of people who are not big fans of him doing that. But without those 2 fumbles, the Bengals probably win this game. As bad as they played. But give the Patriots credit for doing what they do and not straying from it. And then, obviously there was a lot of attention on the punt late in the game. And you wonder. So I sit here. I'm like the guy in Animal House with the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other on that one. Because seriously, it's like punt the ball. You got 3 timeouts. I think you still had the 2-minute warning. Punt the ball. You're fine. However, the devil's going, wait a minute. You haven't stopped this guy on the ground yet. They crank out a first down. You're in trouble. And that's what they did.
You also paid Joe Burrow $275 million to win these types of situations for you.
Yes. Agree.
This team is going to struggle all season long against the run. And I don't think that this was
Well,
an anomaly.
I will say this, because of those injuries and stuff, and some of those guys played a lot of snaps. I'm not, again, I'll go back. They're young guys. It takes its toll. The Bengals would rather be able to rotate a little more than what they were able to in that game. And in that fourth quarter, guys like BJ Hill have played a lot of snaps, and you're in there busting at every play. And the other guy is too. But I think the Bengals would like to rotate those guys a little more up front than what they were able to Sunday. Even though it was a mild day, the weather was perfect.
What are you putting into what you saw out of Joe Burrow on Sunday?
Number one, I feel like he started slow before almost every season. I mean, I didn't go back and look at it, but it feels that way. It feels like the offensive line has started slowly every season and gotten their act together, which is why I thought maybe this camp you would get everybody ready to go before opening day and get them some playing time, get them time together in game situation, and turn it loose and be ready to go when the NFL says, now the games count. But they didn't do that. And so I'm not writing anything off by any stretch with that, but it seemed a little skittish. It seemed a little it was not Joe-like. It was just not Joe-like. And I don't know what the issue was there. I mean, do they need T. Higgins on the other side of Jamar Chase to make it work and these other guys aren't? I don't know. Was he a little antsy in the pocket because he's been beat up so much? I hope not. But it looked like at times there was a little bit going on there that we're not used to seeing. But again, it was game one, and he does start slow. Give me 2 to 3 more weeks, and I'll make a much better determination. But I'll tell you, it's going to be a hell of a lot tougher this week out in Kansas City, and that noise and that defense and that defensive front, which, by the way, has kind of carried the Chiefs over the last year and a half since some things have changed in Kansas City, where everyone thinks it's, run and gun and Mahomes and Kelsey, and, it was Tyreek Hill. Now it's a couple of other guys and Pacheco. And that defense is pretty damn good out there. And they did their job last season to get the Chiefs that Super Bowl win, in my humble opinion.
If the Bengals team that showed up this past week shows up in Kansas City, it's going to be a long game, and it's not going to be pretty.
But I fully expect the Bengals will bounce back a little bit and make a game of this. Now,
I hope so.
As my my 8-up Bengal fans friends are all convinced, and I felt like okay, they'll go out there and probably play better, because we've seen them lay eggs the first couple of weeks of the season. But when push comes to shove, this team over the past 3 years, 4 years has bowed its back and done what it needs to do. So they agree. They think they'll lose on a late field goal. And that would be the Bengal-esque thing. Go out there, play a great game, be right in it to the end. Harrison Butker comes out and boots one from 50 yards as the gun goes off, and they lose a close one. That's how we're conditioned to think around here these days. But I do expect a better performance this week. I really do. I don't think we saw the whole real Bengals. I don't know what the hell that was. It was a crappy egg-laying performance on an opening day. And you know what? You already said the stat. Joe is what? 1-8?
1-8.
And Zach's 1-10. And I expected them to beat the Patriots and I'm a fool.
Well, the Patriot way still has a little shine to it, apparently. So
Good defense, though. I'm telling you. And on that fourth down play, the little pass, which you would rather throw it past the sticks than behind them. But that kid that came up and made that tackle and that hit, holy God, he's probably still sore. That hurt me watching him how hard that kid gave up his body. I'm telling you, they're playing that for all the young Patriots defensive backs for a long time. They're going to say, you want to know how to hit someone on a big play and a fourth down play? Watch this. That was, as mad as I was very respectful and impressed with the play that kid made.
now the Chiefs are favored in this one 3.5. You touching this one, George?
What's that?
The Chiefs are favored 3.5 in this one. Are you going to be touching this game?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Me either.
Because here's why. I think there's a 50% chance this could be a close game. There's a 50% chance it could be a rout. That's how I see it. And there's no routes in the NFL anymore. And when the teams are, the NFL's crazy. I probably shouldn't have put it that way. But in my heart, I feel like, oh my God, there's a big chance that they're not going to be close to that number. So why would I bet it?
T. Higgins is expected to sit out this one as well. That hamstring, just you hope it really is just the hamstring. I don't think he's a guy to just be milking an injury.
No, I don't either. But this also points to if I'm the Bengals, am I going to commit long-term guaranteed money to this dude?
Or anybody for that matter. It's
right.
He's making a little bit harder on himself.
I would let somebody else do it.
Yeah, he's making things a little bit harder on himself. So, in any case, I don't have anything left on the Bengals game. The other topic I did want to talk about the Bengals, though, is something that became probably more prevalent today, as Joe Mixon has nothing good to say about the Bengals at this point in time. I don't know if you've caught any of his comments or not.
I did not.
As
I've been in the biggest
vacuum
off the grid since after the Bengals game, basically.
Well, the Joe Mixon says he doesn't want to play the Bengals as part of a revenge game this year. Actually, no, I don't. I'm fine leaving them where they are, just like they left me. He has nary a good word.
Number one, they drafted this dude in the second round after that crap happened in Oklahoma. Am I right?
Correct. They did.
Okay. So they breathed. But now somebody probably would have ended up having him on the roster and stuff. But they invested a second round pick in him when nobody else wanted to touch him. So correct. That's the first point. Go
on. He also, there was another quote somewhere. I'm struggling to find it right now. But he's, just essentially done with Cincinnati.
The dude just ran for 150 yards in a game. He left. I'm sorry. I mean, he can be bitter or whatever, but no one was. I don't know when somebody would have drafted him in that draft after what happened, because he was pretty much damaged goods in the eyes of public perception and drafting him. So the Bengals did right by him in that. And I would like to think he's a little more appreciative of that and the fact that they re-sign him. And he's got to understand that the Bengals have a business to run to, and running backs get to a certain level, and it's like, we're not going to pay this. When you go money versus age, I mean, he's not the first guy that has moved on. My God, Saquon Barkley moved on from teams. Adrian Peterson did. I can go down the list of a hell of a lot of better running backs than Joe Mixon that were let go and left during free agency or were traded or whatever. And that's just the way it works. They did him a favor, in my opinion, drafting him in the second round, because if I would have been general manager, I wouldn't have drafted him in the second round.
They also did him a favor trading him as opposed to releasing him to a team that had playoff aspirations. And then also, by the way,
to a team that has an offense that is emerging as one of the better in the league.
And they also extended him in a situation that blew my mind.
Yes, absolutely. So that says more about Joe than it does the Bengals. And I'm sorry to hear that, because I didn't know this crap was out there. Like I said, I've been off the grid the past couple of days, and so
I wonder how much of it is just him being
ridiculous. I'm sorry.
I wonder how much of it is just him jaded because he wanted to finish his career here and he didn't want to go anywhere.
That may be sour grapes and all that, but you got to be.
It is what it is.
I'm sorry, you've got to be better than that. After that crap happened out at his house, and I know he wasn't involved, but the Bengals could have easily just. I mean, come on, dude, and that stuff and that may have been wrong too. But look, a lot of guys aren't getting the kind of breaks that the Bengals gave him. Let's just put it that way. And for him to try to crap on the and look, there's a lot of reasons to do that to the Bengals organization, but he's the last guy that should be crapping on the Bengals.
Fair enough. Switching gears, the Reds currently are up on the Cardinals 3-0.
Fired up like that.
The Reds are currently up on the Cardinals 3-0. They did finish up the series sweep against the Braves yesterday in a makeup game, a one-game makeup game, and they lost 2 of 3 to the Mets prior to that. But even going back one series further, you swept the Astros. I don't know what to make of this Reds team at this point.
I don't know either. Every time
I
dislike them, then I was there the night they scored 9 runs in the first inning. Can you imagine? I'm sitting there. They're playing.
We had just shit all over them. Yeah, we had just shit all over them the night before.
Yeah, I know. And then they scored 9 in the first and got to 11 runs and had 11 strikeouts. So my tickets were good for free Chick-fil-A and free pizza. So, I mean, I got the daily double on that game. And it was fantastic. Yeah, I don't know what to make of them. I do know this. So they got the win tonight. Is it over?
It's in the 8th.
3-0 still, or what is?
Yeah, up 3-0.
Okay, how many innings did Rhett Lauder go? Because he's starting to make me think he's going to be a lot of help next year.
5 innings, 5 hits, 3 strikeouts, 84 pitches.
No runs, though, right?
No runs.
Yeah, he's been pretty darn impressive so far, and been impressive for a while. And he had a really, really rough start. And when he got to Double-A, he was like roughed up, and seems to have gotten it together. So that's promising. But yeah, this, as we said, they're not going to make it. They're not going to go anywhere this year. I think they got a lot of soul searching to do in the offseason as to what they do with the manager and the coaching staff. And I think it's probably time for a new direction. They've given these guys a lot of rope. They have had a lot to deal with in terms of injuries, and these guys keep getting hurt. I don't know what that's all about, and we've talked about that ad nauseum, and they've got to look at that aspect of it. But the GM and Nick Kroll, they got a lot of things to think about, and they're not little decisions; they're big decisions in my mind. So this offseason, I hope, is as interesting as I think it is. I mean, they have to absolutely go out and get a corner outfielder. You can't, go out with next year with either Fraley or Benson or you know what I mean? You got to get an established guy. And
Agreed.
you can have Fear out there. We can, I like that guy. Is CES going to be the guy at first? What do you do there? They've got some decisions to make. They should have some money to play with. And if they don't, I feel like I've said this every year for the last 15 years, but if they don't, it's time to just sell the team and get the hell out.
Agreed. You tell them, George.
Well, it is. I mean, how many years do you get? How much patience does any fan base have? And a lot of people are done. And so you got to do something. You've got to do something impactful. For me, if I'm the owner of the team, the easiest thing to do is get a new manager, coaching staff, new voices, new everything. And they've got a lot of people that are good baseball people whose brains they can pick that are in the organization, around the organization, around the team a lot in the media that aren't dumbasses like me, but guys who actually spend a lot of time in the major leagues. And they can pick their brains and try to get it right because they still have that nucleus that could be good for a while. And, I'm glad they figured out, some of the guys who were producing in August might be some of the guys who should be playing in September. So that's good to see.
Easiest thing to do for this ownership group would be to go put the for sale sign right there into the ground and let somebody else make all of those decisions, because they've shown me that they are incapable of putting the right people in place to make those decisions. And
you have every reason to feel that way.
And even if they did have the right people in place, they're not going to sign the check for what needs done.
Right. And you have every reason to feel that way because they've had ownership of this team plenty long enough to have some major success. And so far, major success has been getting to the playoffs and getting your ass kicked.
Yeah.
It's a shame. It's a shame because it's still a good baseball town. And people will say, well, it's not St. Louis because St. Louis wins. If the Reds win, look at what happened during that 11-game winning streak last year when they were sucking. And then all of a sudden, these young kids come up and there was excitement. And that was the place to be. Great American Ballpark was the place to be.
Next year is a 30-year anniversary since their last postseason series victory.
That is hard to believe.
That's insane.
So that was the whatever that round was with the Dodgers.
1995.
In 95, yeah. Yeah, that's crazy.
You have
It's so long ago. I was only like I was less than 15 years into my career covering this stuff. And I was probably 10 years in being in sports covering this stuff.
George, any Reds fan that is 30 years or younger has never seen this team win a playoff series.
That is insane.
That's bananas.
That's so crazy. And I'm so spoiled because growing up when I did, and even in the mid to late 60s, and back then, you had the National League and the American League. And you had to have the best record in the National League, and you had to have the best record in the American League, and they played in the World Series. The rest of you, there were no playoffs. There was none of this stuff. Then they finally went to the divisions in '69, and that's when I'm really getting into it. And 69, I was in elementary school or junior high, but the Big Red Machine comes, and I just remember thinking, man, it must suck to be into those other towns, because it seems like we got something going on good every year. And it's just so amazing to me that it's going to be 30 years since they've won a playoff series. Should have won that damn San Francisco series. When was
Every
that?
opportunity.
2012. God.
Every opportunity in that
Think
one.
about that. That's 12 years ago now.
I know.
And that seems like it was yesterday, and that's 12 years ago.
Until you think about who was
chance to win a series.
Seems like yesterday until you think about who was on that roster and how old like that roster is. You got Matt Latos, Matt Latos and Mike Leake and Brandon Phillips and Jay Bruce. I mean,
you're right.
That roster is
they're all retired.
I'm saying
every damn one of them, right? Oh, wait, Leake was still around? Is he?
I don't know. I don't know what he's doing.
God, I'm not sure. He was still around. I'm trying to think of anyone. There's got to be another one or two, but I don't know. I'm gonna go look at that roster when we're done here and see what the hell.
That's fine. We got a whole year to. Well, I guess if we're talking, that was the 30. Never. Anyway, FC Cincinnati doesn't play this week. Nothing doing. Well, they didn't play this week. They play.
They play
Saturday.
Hell is real. Columbus comes down here. Still good battle going on in that division or that conference. I'm sorry. Second place. They're right in it with Columbus. That's going to be a big match for them. So hopefully Cincinnati comes out on top and things start to change around here with the way these losses have been going. And,
they got a quick turn on that though. They played again 4 days later, I believe. They play Wednesday, Minnesota, right after. So
big week for them.
And then again on Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday action. So it's a busy week.
Yes, it is. And that's good. I mean, they've had some couple weeks off, so get back into it, get moving, and they're coming down the stretch. High school football, probably. How about Princeton beating Lakota West? Man, I'll tell you what, Princeton's cranking. That defense is really, really good. I think they play Lakota East this week. I believe coached by former Bengal John Kitna. So,
yeah, I think he is.
That's probably the premier game in the area to see how that shakes out. But Princeton's a rolling, and in Kentucky, trying to think what's going on in Kentucky. Is Highlands at Ryle? I think that's right. That's a big game.
All right. Well, that was another Tuesday night. My voice did everything it could for you. So
you hung in there. I'm glad you're playing hurt. Do you care if I check out early? Because I really got to pee.
No, I'll go ahead and wrap it up.
All right. Thank you.
But that's going to do it for another episode of George in the Jungle. Thanks to George and his little tiny baby bladder. But thanks always to Remington Tavern for sponsoring us here. You can find them at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have their daily happy hour from 3 to 7 p.m. $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanzas Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. You can find them on Instagram at RemyTavCincy or follow them on Facebook. But for George, I am Aaron Smith. We'll see you next week, 9 o'clock, right here on Tuesday, where we discuss all things Cincinnati sports.